Okay, so I am obsessed with Guillermo del Toro. I have loved his movies since before I was even interested in movies as more than just entertainment. He's one of my absolute favorite directors, and when I heard he was going to be making an adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I was beyond excited. I am so excited for the new Frankenstein movie coming out with Jacob Elordi. I can't even wait. And I have to say, he did not disappoint. I really wanted to catch this one in theaters. I think that watching this on the big screen would have just been an amazing experience. But unfortunately, I have been sick for over a month now. And I didn't think anyone was going to want to listen to me hacking and coughing during their theater experience. That really wouldn't have been fair. So I did have to wait and catch it at home. But I was really excited that this did get a theater release instead of just being dropped straight to Netflix. And I hope that lots of people turned up for it because this movie deserves it. I'm a little nervous about how much I have to say Guillermo in this video. It might be like a Benedict Cumberbatch and the Penguin situation up in here, so just bear with me.
So why are these woodlands so attractive to penguins?
Now, funnily enough, my first experience with Guillermo del Toro as a director was not a positive one. I watched Pan's Labyrinth as a kid and was absolutely traumatized by it. I imagine that if I were to watch it now as an adult, I might be able to appreciate it more, but I've never tried. At that point, I was too young to really be interested in directors, and it wasn't until I started getting interested in some of Del Toro's other work that I realized that he had directed the most horrifying movie from my childhood. I think the movie that really sparked my appreciation for him as a director would have been Crimson Peak, not just because of the amazing visuals, but because of his attention to detail regarding those visuals. Everything means something in Del Toro's movies. The costumes, the color schemes, the sets, down to the frickin' wallpaper. Every little detail means something. And you may not notice it and you may not notice it consciously, but all of it plays into how you perceive the movie and how you feel while watching it. His movies are truly works of art. Speaking more specifically to the visuals in Frankenstein, I mean, obviously, it looks great. Cinematography is absolutely breathtaking. The cinematographer is Dan Lauston, and him and Guillermo del Toro have worked together several times before. They're obviously a great team, and they have made some of the most beautiful movies out there. And this one is no exception. The costumes are gorgeous, the vibrant colors and patterns, again, everything having meaning and coming together to subtly influence the things that you associate with characters. And even with the modern spin that they put on the costumes, it all looks like it belongs in this world so effortlessly. This movie is quite gory, which I was a little wary of going into it, but I found that even the blood and gore had a sort of beauty to it. There was a section that crossed the line into gross a little bit while still maintaining that beautiful quality, while also making me feel like I might hurl up the cheesecake I was eating at the time. This movie is bursting with the gothic vibes, much like Crimson Peak, and I just want to like shove it in your face and be like, look at it, look at it, look how pretty it is. I asked my husband if he wanted to watch it with me, so he watched the trailer and he was like, it looks like something I would put on in the background. And I was like, another thing that I appreciate about Guillermo del Toro is that he does as much as he can practically before reaching for digital effects or a green screen. The ship, that huge ship that we keep on coming back to throughout the movie, they built that in a parking lot. All of it, even the masks, the little details, nothing was left to be added in digitally, and it looks amazing. The lab is this giant tower that they obviously couldn't just build, so they made a miniature of it that they could film. Obviously, some things still had to be enhanced digitally, but that's just it. It's an enhancement for something that actually exists. And it just adds a level of realism that I really appreciate. I really love the character of Victor, even though I hated him. But it's that depth and complexity, the fact that he is the villain of his own story, that makes him such a great character. And Oscar Isaac is, of course, as wonderful as always. I found this character so interesting as a protagonist because he's just so chock full of faults and he makes so many mistakes. There are moments where you're sitting there going, I hate you, you monster. There was a scene that kind of stuck out to me, and I'm not sure if it was meant to allude to this kind of aspect of Victor's character the way that I took it, or if that was just me kind of reading into things. But Victor needs bodies to work on, obviously. So there's a scene where he goes to the gallows and he's going through the lineup of people waiting to be hanged, and he's essentially shopping for a body to work on. And it's kind of a funny scene because of the absurdity and the coldness of it, but to me, it also points to Victor's complete lack of empathy and his ability to think about anything beyond his immediate wants. He goes shopping for a dead body while that body is still very much alive and facing down their imminent death, with no regard for how that person is feeling. He confesses his love to Elizabeth with no regard for the position that he's putting Elizabeth in or the pain that he's going to cause his little brother if Elizabeth were to accept him. He creates the creature with no regard for what his life is going to be like. Does he have a soul? How is the world going to treat him? None of these things cross his mind before he's forced to confront them. He's an entirely selfish character, and I find that kind of fascinating. Jacob Elordi finally got his ugly role, and he crushed it. I've been impressed with Jacob as an actor since his Kissing Booth days, but this goes above and beyond anything I think he's ever done before. His portrayal of the creature was both beautiful and heartbreaking, and I just love the way Guillermo wrote this character. At the beginning, he's essentially this entirely pure being, and it makes it very difficult to watch what happens to him and the way that he's treated by Victor and the world and how that shapes him. Guillermo described this character as being like your dog. He's capable of violence and inflicting serious harm or even death, but the next minute he can turn around, be sitting by your side, and waiting for you to pat his head. And Jacob Elordi embodied this essence amazingly. I love that there was an entire section of this movie that was focused on his side of the story, how he goes from being this entirely innocent creature to learning how to interact with the world, some of that going very well, and some of it going very, very poorly. Learning what he is and the fact that he was made and then rejected by his creator, that he will never be accepted by the world, and that his only chance to not be alone would be if there were another like him. And in the end, finding forgiveness in his heart for the ways that he's been failed and moving on to live a life for himself. Mia Goth is absolutely stunning here. She played both the mother and Elizabeth, which I actually found really hard to believe. She was almost completely unrecognizable as the mother. Power of eyebrows, I tell ya. They're kind of playing with an Oedipus complex here by having Mia play both the mother and the woman that Victor falls in love with. Victor was also very close with his mother and in opposition to his father. Then this trickles down to the creature, with Victor taking on the role of abusive father, the same way that his father was, and Elizabeth taking on the role of the nurturing mother figure. But there also does seem to be some romantic chemistry going on here, which pushes the idea of that complex even further. Although I don't think this connection is so much about romantic love as just Elizabeth is the first person to show the creature kindness, and he loves her for that. And Elizabeth recognizes the purity of the creature's heart and thinks that he isn't a lesser thing than humans, but perhaps something better. And she loves him for that and wants to protect it. Mia Goth and Jacob Elordi have fantastic chemistry. I really have to give them credit for portraying such a believable connection with such a short period of time. I think they're together only 3 times throughout the entire movie, and yet you can almost feel their bond palpably. It really is lovely. Mia does a wonderful job portraying a character that is so gentle and nurturing, while also being incredibly smart and capable of being brutal in her own way. Guillermo said that Mia improvises so much that he had to figure out the best way to film her to give her the freedom to do her thing. What a powerhouse. Make the director work around you. You go, girl. I was a little worried about this movie being split into 2 parts. We have Victor's Tale as part 1 and The Creature's Tale as part 2, while the beginning and the ending of the movie are set in the present, with scenes of the present being dispersed throughout those 2 parts as well. I find when movies or sometimes even books are divided up this way, I tend to lose interest. One of the parts always seems to be more boring than the others, or you can kind of lose the plot thread because everything is so separated. But I found all the parts here equally captivating, and I even wanted a little bit more from them. I feel like this movie could have easily been 3 hours long. One area that I really wish they had spent a bit more time is with the ending. They explore this theme of generational trauma throughout the movie, with Victor being abused by his father, and despite his hatred for him, growing up to abuse his own child in the same way. In the end, after hearing the creature's side of the tale, Victor realizes the ways in which he has failed him, and he apologizes. And with the creature's forgiveness, Victor passes away, and the creature moves on with his life, breaking the cycle. Not that I expect he's going to have children, but more in the sense that he's able to let go of his anger and hatred, and now carry on living his life for himself instead of serving this cycle. And while I really love this ending, Victor's redemption didn't feel earned. I would have liked to see him come to the realization that he was the real monster all along and actually done something to fix it and earn the creature's forgiveness. As it is, Victor spends the majority of the movie being completely horrible, thinking only of himself and his own ego, then makes a quick apology, is forgiven, and is able to pass on without ever having to do anything to actually atone for the harm that he has caused. But while I feel Victor's redemption is unearned, one aspect I do enjoy that comes out of the ending as it is this idea that someone doesn't always have to earn your forgiveness. Sometimes you forgive them because that's what's best for you. The creature realizing that if he truly is to go on and try to make the most of his immortal life, he needs to forgive Victor for himself, or else he will spend eternity bitter and angry and living his life in spite instead of in joy. So those are my thoughts on Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I have been waiting for this movie for what feels like forever, and I was not disappointed, although I do wish that I was able to see it in theaters. Please give this video a like if you made it all the way to the end, and let me know what you thought of Frankenstein down in the comments. I'd really love to talk to you guys about it. Also, please consider subscribing if you love movies as much as I do. If you like this video, you should check out my How to Train Your Dragon video that is on the screen somewhere. It only got 16 views, and I lost a subscriber over it, which is totally not embarrassing at all. So maybe go give it a watch. Okay, bye.